Entertainment Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4, Episodes 1 and 2, and my thoughts on these episodes. Well, we are back to Lower Decks, and listen, I'm not going to say Lower Decks is a completely terrible show. Okay, the last two episodes of Season 3 were okay. I admit that they were okay. My problem is, and it always has been with this show, is it is just a Rick and Morty ripoff for a Star Trek audience, and that is just never going to work. So, I wasn't really expecting much from these two episodes. I had completely forgot that they were coming out yesterday, so that's why this review's kind of late. So, yeah, am I excited for this show? Absolutely not. But what did I think about the two episodes? One's full of member berries, the other one is just boring. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. And Mariner doesn't seem to be getting any better as a character. I mean, one credit to her character I would say is maybe she is kind of growing. I mean, it only took 4 fucking seasons for her to start growing as a character. But in the second episode, we do see some growth. As for the others, Tendi, Rutherford, Boimler, yeah, they're the same as they always are. That's about it. I mean, there's not really anything of growth in any of the other characters. And I think that's a shame. I know some people are going to say Boimler's kind of grown to stop wanting to, well, succeed in life or get up in the world. Because the first... I can't go into that kind of spoilers, but I'm just saying, yes, not Rutherford, Boimler is a better character now than he was in the first season, but not by much. So, the main thing I'll say about this is the characters, they seem to be just waning when it comes to character growth. As for all the other crew, they're there. I mean, again, the biggest problem with this show, okay, the biggest problem is it's just taking the piss out of Star Trek, and it's just not funny, or it's just an easy shot at Star Trek. And that's just not entertaining for a Star Trek fan to watch. With these two episodes, again, the first episode, which is pretty much just full of memorabilia from another show, it feels like they're taking shots at the series. Then they go with the story of, well, something from that series, and they really, I mean, they were looking like they were going to go in a kind of interesting way with that story, but then it gets lower decks and just made a complete fucking joke, which is just, okay, so why is there any point of me having any, interest in these stories that you're making if all you're going to do at the end of the story is turn it into a massive fucking joke? Again, this is supposed to be a Star Trek show. Star Trek shows are supposed to be interesting and, mainly science-based. That's what most Star Trek fans loved about the show. Not take the piss shit. So what would I give these two episodes out of 10? I mean, I don't know, a 4? A 4 out of 10? Again, I'm not going to watch them again. It did feel like they were taking the piss, and again, I will say there was a missed opportunity with the first episode with one of the stories. So, a 4 out of 10. We're back to Lower Decks, it's bloody annoyingest. So, yeah. So, let's get into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So, as I was saying, Episode 1 is a member berry episode. It is literally a Voyager, and let's just look at some random episodes. The Borg, the Flying Virus, and one very interesting part of the episode, and I will admit it was actually interesting. The Tuvix part. Now, if you don't remember from Voyager, when you had Tuvok and Neelix go down to a planet and grab a plant, they beamed back up to Voyager, and then were accidentally molded together by the transporter, and then we got Tuvix. And now that was a kind of very interesting story because, you know, the crew needed to kind of find a way to split Tuvix back up to Neelix and Tuvok. But unfortunately, getting rid of Tuvix. So it kind of made a dilemma for Janeway. Like, is she actually killing this man to save two other people? Was it the right thing to do? And it was, and again, that was a very interesting episode of Star Trek. Again, give you a massive dilemma, but unfortunately seeing that there is the fact of the many outweighing the few. That whole story. So again, that was an interesting story. Now, do you think Lower Decks treated that story with the respect it deserved? No. Now, I thought they were actually going to do something with this story that was going to be interesting. I did. I know, I am stupid. I thought we were going to get something realistic. No, it was just take the piss. All the fucking time. Again, even the captain of the ship is like, Janeway murdered Tuvix. It's like, hold the fuck on. Hold the fuck on. Like, we've done this story before. In a 100 times better way. And all you seem to keep concentrating on is Janeway had to make a fucking decision. By the way, none of them ever mentioned the Doctor and how it's his science. I mean, it was his, science that kind of split them up. They don't mention the Doctor. They keep mentioning Janeway. Like, she just gave the order. The Doctor had to perform it. Or at least he had to give her the means to split them up. So, yeah, it was a massive disappointment to me. That could have been an interesting story because it was the Catwoman and the head of engineering on the Cerritos. They got connected together. And you know what that fucking cat bitch is like. She just swears. And then you had them together. It was really weird. And then the guy went psycho and started connecting everybody else to each other. Like mixing like the captain with some bird guy. I think that's the council of the ship. And then, yeah, it was just a really bunch of random shit. And by the end, you had Tendi with the Vulcan, who had been disciplined to join the Cerritos. They then had to fix the problem of the fact these guys were running amok on the ship. So the Vulcan has an idea of taking over the Cerritos' transporters and connecting the entire bunch of the crew, which turned them into a massive blob at the end. And then Tendi finds a powerful tricorder that's able to split them up. And and the Vulcan can then connect to parts of the blob that Tendi could scan to see personality traits. Yeah, it was kind of just stupid at the end. Again, an interesting story you could have done, actually looking back at what Janeway's decision was, but then you just take it into a stupid joke direction, and yeah, just disappointing. Anyway, so at the beginning of the episode, because I just wanted to mention that part of this episode, but at the beginning of the episode, the Cerritos is sent to some mysterious docking station where you had Mariner, thinking that they were going to be put on like some sort of spy mission with the Vulcans, but turns out no, they're there to help with the delivery of Voyager to Earth, where she is going to be turned into a museum because of a 7-year trip. Now, I still don't get why Voyager is being turned into a museum. I get there's a lot of history with her, but she's still a capable ship. I don't know why they're not using her. Why is that not Janeway's flagship, the Voyager? I just don't get it. But anyway, and the person in charge of the museum is this really weird guy who's like, needs to get everything sorted out. He wants the Cerritos crew to come over and help him deliver the Voyager to Earth. So they do, and then we get the whole Tendi and the Vulcan, heading off to the Cerritos with the plant that connected the two people, and we had that entire story. I won't go into it again. But on the ship, we have Mariner and Boimler kind of dealing with the fact that Boimler's been told that he could get a promotion this episode, but Boimler's still kind of worried about, if he gets this promotion, will him and Mariner still be friends because of all the shit that happened to him on the Titan? Yeah. So again, he's going to give up a promotion just so he can stay friends with Mariner, who doesn't really want to do anything with her life. Okay, so when I say Boimler's character has, developed, I wouldn't say for the best, but there you go. So he spends most of this episode trying not to help, even though they're in a massively dangerous situation, because when they're on the bridge of the Voyager, apparently Boimler stumbles upon a flying virus. If you remember the Voyager episode with those virus pod things, apparently there's been a virus pod still on the bridge of the Voyager ever since, and nobody's found it. No engineering crew, not even the Voyager crew when they were in the Delta Quadrant. Nobody found that fucking virus except for Boimler, so we could have this stupid, do you remember the flying virus from Voyager? It just really fucking felt forced in, and it just doesn't make sense. How would the Voyager crew not find that, especially after the whole, situation? Like, of course they would have looked for every bit of that virus on the ship before they even left that area, so this just makes no sense. And then throughout the episode you just bump into random fucking shit about the Voyager, the clown guy who, wanted to kill people to keep himself alive, if you remember that episode from Voyager. Then you had Chaotica, if you remember that episode, those episodes of Voyager with Chaotica, and the Irish guy that Janeway fell in love with those episodes. Because it turns out the macrovirus, I think that's what it's called, the macrovirus then goes into the Borg chamber that's on Voyager, and is then assimilated by the Borg, and then the Borg virus then runs off and takes control of the Voyager and tries to pilot it to a Borg cube, and then it activates all the programs that I mentioned, and then it's just this insane episode, with a bunch of random things being assimilated by the Borg and the macrovirus being everywhere. By the way, so many people are infected by the macrovirus and seem to be fine. Mariner's infected by the virus, Boimler's infected by the virus, and none of them get sick, even though none of them have had, the inoculation. Okay? Oh, this episode was pretty shit. So, Boimler manages to figure out a way to get onto the bridge, and he defeats everything, defeats the macrovirus, defeats the Borg, and they save the ship. Or he saves the ship. After he gets the pep talk from Mariner, who tells him that she was the one who put him up for promotion. Apparently. And the episode ends with Boimler getting his promotion, Tendi getting a promotion, and then lastly Mariner gets a promotion, but as we all know about fucking Mariner by now, she hates promotions and is absolutely pissed off about getting one, and Rutherford doesn't get a promotion for some reason. And that's how the first episode ends. It's not a great episode. It was kind of fun remembering all the Voyager episodes, and I'm probably going to go back and watch the Tuvix episode, because again, that is a great story. That really is. So thanks, Lower Decks, for reminding me to watch better Star Trek. Oh, that's not how the episode ends. We then end on a mysterious ship attacking a Klingon ship and destroying it. And I think that's going to be the main plot of this series. So, yeah. On to episode 2, which is probably the worst of the bunch. So the episode starts off on a Romulan ship where we have 2 Romulan crewmen talking about overthrowing their captain and becoming captain of the ship. And I have to remind the writers, this is not a Klingon ship, this is a Romulan ship. They do not act like that. I don't know why we're seeing schemes and plots from the from the Romulans. That's not how they've ever been like. You're thinking of the fucking Klingons. Wrong race, you fucking morons. Anyway, and the same ship from the last episode that destroyed the Klingons destroys the Romulans, and that's the last we see of that ship this episode. So we head off to the Cerritos, where the group are preparing to leave the quarters that they've been in for a long time, except for Rutherford, because he didn't get promotion last episode, and they're all getting their own quarters. I'm going to get the Boimler shit out of the way right now. Boimler's part of this episode is he has to go to a bunch of fucking random rooms because he kind of doesn't realise in the first room that you've obviously got windows that can deal with the nacelle lights. Why would you make a room next to that fucking massive light and not give the room some sort of way to deal with it? But unfortunately, Boimler's a fucking moron in this episode, and this is just done for laughs, where we just see him go into a bunch of random fucking rooms, and every room has a problem with it. I just can't be arsed with him this episode. It was just like, I don't care. And at the end, he finds a good room because Rutherford tells him about the fucking fact the room has windows that can stop the massive light affecting it. And then the Tendi Rutherford part of this episode is Rutherford is kind of a bit worried that him and Tendi are not going to be friends anymore because if they're not the same rank. So he goes crazy around the Cerritos trying to improve every system he can because he needs a promotion, and this other guy keeps doing it before him and better, so Rutherford keeps getting mad about it. And then Tendi has to remind him at the end of the episode, didn't you do a shitload of things to save the ship before? And then Rutherford mentions, oh yeah, I've been offered a promotion a bunch of times, but I kept turning it down because of our relationship as friends. I didn't want to risk it. So Tendi tells his commanding officer, hey, do you remember when Rutherford saved the ship that bunch of fucking times? And so Rutherford just gets his promotion then. And then we end, his part ending on this episode is sharing a room with Boimler and telling him about the shielding for the windows from the nacelles. Ugh, fucking hell. So we go to the main part of the episode, which is Mariner pissed off about being promoted and continuously trying to sabotage herself by acting up. The second in command, I don't know his fucking name, takes her on the away mission with him. They're heading to some sort of zoo where a bunch of 2 humans are now part of the exhibit, and they are being sent there to be freed because it's a zoo and they're human beings, so they shouldn't be in this place. And Mariner just does a bunch of stupid shit throughout, is insubordinate, drives the shuttle in a ridiculous way that nearly kills the crew. There's also this second guy who's in the episode who's pretty worthless, and Mariner then brings up to the person in charge of the zoo, why have you imprisoned all these animals? I just don't care. But long story short, Mariner finds a very apparently a cute creature called Moopsie, and apparently this creature is somehow let out, and then the head of the zoo then goes crazy because that is a very dangerous creature in the zoo, and it eats bones or sucks bones out of people. So I think I remember watching this episode in Future fucking Rama. Oh shit. Sorry, yeah, I've seen this episode before. It's Futurama with the bone sucking lizard thing. So you just copied a Futurama episode? I mean, come on, Lower Decks. This thing couldn't be like a mind control thing. I don't know, just a bone sucker that's blatantly from Futurama with the sheep. I don't know. And so Mariner and the second in command pretty much just argue each other most of the fucking episode, where the second officer just says to her, listen, I'm not trying to sabotage you, I'm not trying to get rid of you off the Cerritos, I know what you're like, you're in your way most of your fucking life, I'm just trying to give you a chance to fix your life and give yourself a chance at being an actual member of the Federation and maybe do something with your career instead of just being a fucking bitch. So Mariner kind of realizes she might have made the wrong impression about the promotion, and so they team up together and are able to beat the Mupsi, who keeps sucking bones out of people because the Mupsi kills the head of the zoo and then gets stuck in the main bridge of the zoo, which then hurdles the zoo down nearly into the planet. But Mariner is able to stop the Mupsi by trapping it back in its cage by punching an ever-living fuck out the second in command and punching all his teeth out because they need the teeth as the fucking Mupsi likes eating bones. There you go. So they trap the creature back in its cage, where they then find out it was the humans next door who released the Mupsi because apparently Mariner was being blamed. I admit this myself, I thought it was Mariner as well to try to get fired, but no, it turns out it was the humans in the other cell who released the Mupsi because apparently, being in exhibits, they wanted to take over the zoo because they're very profitable. So, yeah, apparently humans want to make money again, even though they come from Earth, where money means jack shit. And so Mariner's part of this episode ends with her saying sorry to the second officer and just saying she'll do better, and yeah, he's going to help her out as much as he can. And the episode ends with everybody getting their own rooms, everybody's been promoted, and the Lower Decks crew kind of worrying they're not Lower Decks anymore, but Mariner and Boimler kind of tells them they're still low officers, it's just they now have their own rooms. And that's how the episode ends. Again, it was the worst of the two. It was really, really Lower Decks. Annoying jokes, Mariner being a moron most of the fucking episode, and then apparently being completely right at the end for no reason, and Tendi and Rutherford just being there. So again, it's a 4 out of 10. Oh, sorry, website's playing up. Anyway, 4 out of 10. Not great. First episode was better, but not by much. Yeah, we're back to Lower Decks. I don't know if this gets a Series 6, because it's going to definitely get a Series 5. I am still of the impression that a lot of these shows are going to get cancelled before the end of the year. I definitely still think Strange New Worlds is going to get cancelled, and then we're going to get told about the final season. I think the same for Lower Decks. I think it's going to get a Season 5 and then get cancelled. That's my opinion. I've got no evidence. I've got no leaks or anything. That's just what I think is going to happen. But, yeah. That's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. And if you have a comment, leave it below and I'll try to get back to it. Entertainment Soldier. Bye.